Hello, I'm Lisa Loomis, and I'm with the Valley Reporter, and I'm here in the Mad River Valley Television Studios with Lori Klein. Thanks for coming, Lori.
My pleasure.
I wanted to talk to you this week about, you had a letter to the editor in the Valley Reporter this week, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that and unpack the story behind it.
Okay.
Well, tell me first what prompted you to write the letter.
Well, you know, there's been so much talk back and forth about this local options tax, and I've been waiting and biding my time. I really wanted to chime in, but all of a sudden it seemed like there was a lot of misinformation and some bad will, and I just wanted to say my little piece.
And you've been involved with this for quite a while. I know that you're a chamber board member, correct?
Yes.
And I know that you helped work on the Vision and Vitality workshop series and attended those yourself.
Yes.
Can bring me a little bit forward with your history on this.
So we first had the big meeting at Mad River, and we broke up into groups and everything, and I'm very interested in the community, and you know, I have retail spaces that people know about, and I'm always looking to make our economy stronger, and there are the issues that we all know about that are hindering that. And, you know, it seems to me to be kind of a no-brainer. This local option tax, to me, seems something that can only be good, and I really don't see how it can hurt anyone. I think it's been very well thought out and researched by the team that's working on it right now. It's been an iteration of different people working. I was on the Vision and Vitality project for about a year, and we met every week, and you know, we came up with a lot of ideas, and the Trail Initiative came out of that, and a lot of good things. And then the subcommittee from the Mad River Valley Planning District took it over, and you know, I was watching the interview with Tim Seneff and Alice and Mark Peel last week, and I just can't agree with some of the things that they were saying, and so I wanted to voice my opinion.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking the time to come into the studio with me. So your support for the 1% local option tax, you work in, you have two retail jobs.
Right, I'm a partner at Artisans Gallery and the buyer at the Warren store.
And it's your opinion that that's not going to negatively impact either of those businesses?
Not at all. I really can't see that it will. And in fact, I think that the money that we can gain in this community from that tax will lower people's property taxes, which will help them more than the 1% that they pay in the grocery store for their paper towels is going to hurt them. And the other thing that I said in the letter that I believe strongly about is that people constantly go to Williston, to the big box stores, to save money. They're going to Costco in Colchester, they're going to Best Buy, they're going to Marshall's, wherever they're going in those places. They're going there to save money. So they're paying a lot of money and wear and tear on gas in their car.
I completely appreciated that part of your letter. I hate to go to Burlington.
Well, but what they're not maybe realizing is that they're paying a 1% local options tax in all of those places.
That's 2 hours of your time to drive up there and back.
Exactly.
To pay the 1% local option tax plus the gas and the wear and the tear. I know.
And you're even paying the tax on the gas probably if you buy it up there.
Right.
So there are so many cities and towns in Vermont that have this tax that have been successful about it. And the committee has been doing a great job of researching that and letting us know in the Valley Reporter each town. I mean, there are more to talk about. And I don't think anybody's rushing anything. I also think that Waitsfield voting to change its charter can really only be a good thing. It doesn't mean that the local options tax is definitely going to pass. It's a completely separate vote, but changing the charter at least opens the door for that. And I'm just hoping people can be a little bit more open-minded about what this tax can do for this valley.
Let's talk a little bit about the idea that comes from the Waitsfield Select, some members of the Waitsfield Select Board, that this tri-town project, this tri-town local option tax, is usurping the authority of Waitsfield. What do you think about that?
Ooh, you don't want to know what I think about that. I think it's a terrible idea because I think that this valley needs to think more globally, more unified.
As a community.
As a community.
Yeah.
I think that Waitsfield has the town center and the commercial aspect. the two, Warren and Fayston, both have the ski areas. We need to work together. I think where I grew up on Long Island, we would have been one town. We would have been maybe villages in that town. But our governance and all these other things, it's helpful to work together and not think of ourselves separately, or what was the word you used? Parochially.
Yeah, right.
We need each other. We all need each other. We're three very small towns
with one river, two mountain ranges,
one valley,
right?
Fantastic recreation, great ideas, great people. And the more we can do together, the more we can save people money. We can help with the public transportation. Maybe we could find a labor force somewhere.
Let's talk a little bit about the issue areas that the proponents of the LOT have come up with. Affordable housing, or workforce housing, or attainable housing is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Recreation is the second one.
Marketing.
Marketing, community projects.
Transportation.
Tell me a little bit about what you learned throughout your career of working in this about the need in those issue areas.
Well, we all know that we have a labor force problem. There really isn't. I think of the labor force around here as being our high school kids, and they're just going to grow up and leave. And the lack of transportation, the valley is isolated, and in the winter it's hard to get around. And we can't really afford to pay GMAVT to have the routes that might help us. I mean, maybe there could be a route from Montpelier or Waterbury or Burlington into the town so that people who live outside of the valley could come here on a daily basis to work. They could also come to ski if they can't afford to drive. There are so many things that could happen with this money. One thing that was mentioned to me the other day was the recreation district?
Mm-hmm. The rec district?
The rec district is asking for $15,000 per town right
Additional,
now.
beyond its regular.
Beyond.
Right. So they can hire a staff person.
Right, and that's in our property tax.
Right.
I don't see any reason why the LOT, or the local options tax money, couldn't help pay the rec district and take that away from our property tax.
And I believe that's the plan. And $30,000 per town is approximately a penny on the tax rate based, depending on where in your appraisal process you are, right? So that should take your tax rate down by 1 penny, which that's significant.
Well,
I mean, that's true, that's real.
I know, we're talking about 1% on a, $2 roll of paper towel. I think that is more beneficial than worrying about how this 1% is going to affect the residents of this valley.
Yeah. So let's go to the carve-outs in the state tax law for what is taxed and what is not subject to the sales tax. So we know that it's paper goods, paper towels, toilet paper,
food that
alcohol, beer, wine, paper products.
Probably cigarettes, which we shouldn't be buying anyway. And
I'm sure cigarettes. Yes, I'm sure.
And soft drinks and things like that. But the food that you buy and the supplies that you need are generally not taxable.
And ditto for clothes.
Clothes are not taxable in Vermont.
Shoes
prescriptions.
Healthcare, services, attorneys, property managers, none of those are taxed.
Right.
Right. And I believe that the committee has done some work. This was a while ago, but I believe the committee has determined that the average impact per household is $2 a month for the local option tax. Does that jive with your memory?
Yes, yeah,
right.
Close to that.
And to the point that I've heard made that it's a regressive tax because it applies to all, I've also been told that there are plans to try to mitigate that for people who have the need.
Well, and maybe there are people who are on welfare or food stamps who could be exempt. I don't know anything about that. But I just don't see how it's going to affect people badly.
What would you like to see from our community leaders? How would you like to see them
I'd like to
move
see
forward?
them work together. I really would. I'd like to have a little less back and forth bickering and a little bit more open-mindedness and more care about the community as a whole.
It's not like we don't have a history of working together. We have a 37-year-old planning district, which was the first intramunicipal planning district of its kind in the country that was created with the creation of the Mad River Valley Planning District. And that is a very successful operation which has been used to monitor and control growth and development at the ski areas, right? That's been very successful.
Yes, and now the school district is unified, which, I was on the Warren School Board for 10 years, and I know how everybody felt about their own little schools and not wanting to give up ownership and governance of those schools. But I see that the unified school district as a start in this process, and I think that the committee that would oversee the local options tax, if it is approved, is another way to join the community together to work that we can all share in the attributes that we each have.
So the plan, the current thinking from the steering committee, the subcommittee of the steering committee, got to get the groups right, is to have a commission of 7 people, 2 appointed by each select board, and 1 chair from the planning district. And that group would receive applications from community organizations in those very specific issue areas, and they would meet quarterly or monthly as necessary to distribute, to determine how the money would be distributed, and then they would cut checks at a certain point. So it seems like, to me, I feel pretty comfortable with that governance model.
I do too. I do too, especially if it's spread out through the towns, and so no one will have a weighted vote or say.
Right.
And I think it's worth giving it a try. I think that the other towns that have done it have been pretty successful with it.
And if we were the first community to create an intermunicipal planning district, I see no reason why we can't be the first community to create an intermunicipal
Right. Let's be
LOT
pioneers.
commission. Well, I think that's one thing the Mad River Valley has done very well, is to innovate. And I think this is another opportunity, could be another opportunity for us to innovate. What do you think of the idea of a Waitsfield only local option tax?
What good does that do anybody? I mean, maybe it would do Waitsfield some good, but I don't see how that would help solve any of the problems the issues that we're facing. I'm not sure how that would help the affordable housing issue in Warren or the transportation issue in the entire valley. I just don't see how that would help anything. And what are they going to use it for?
Paving.
Well,
I mean,
that shouldn't be. I think that should be the property tax. I don't think it should be the improvements to the infrastructure. It should be beyond that.
So what's your understanding of the percentage of this? So this proposed local option tax would raise about $1 million, of which $700,000 would return to the towns, and the state keeps its $300,000. And what's your understanding of how much of that $1 million would come from residents versus visitors?
Well, I think it has been shown that visitors would pay a much larger proportion of that because they are the ones that go out to dinner more, and they do stay in the hotels, and it would definitely fall more to them. But that's again, the argument against this being a regressive tax. It's the people who can afford it who would pay more.
Well, I think that's true. Have you been to Montreal or Quebec recently?
I was just in Montreal last week.
So did you notice all those little extra things that are added onto your dinner bill? Probably not.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I think when
That's the
people
thing.
have
I
come
don't
to a
think
resort town
you expect
on
it.
vacation. Yeah, and I think that the math that I have heard is that the visitors to our community, both short-term and long-term, second homeowners and day visitors and ski pass holders, and anybody who comes here to recreate year-round, would pay 88% of the local option tax, and that those of us who live here year-round would pay 12% of that, which that's a pretty favorable investment. If you can invest 12 cents and get 88 cents worth of value back.
I agree. I mean, I really think that's why it doesn't make sense to oppose this proposal. I know there's a lot of heated opinions on either side, but I think we need to move forward. I think it's a good idea, and if it doesn't work, so we'll disband and
there is a clause in
recreate
the illegal
right.
documents
I
that
think
have been
there's a
created.
5-year.
I don't know if it's 5 years or 10 years or 7 years. I can't remember.
I thought it was 5, but it doesn't matter as long as we can unvote it. If we
It can.
need to.
There's an exit clause, and any
Right.
one town can exit by a majority vote of its citizens. And both Waitsfield changing its charter has to be done by the voters, and then if Waitsfield were to pursue its own local option tax or this tri-town local option tax, it all has to pass by an affirmative majority of the voters in all 3 towns.
Right, and I don't even think anybody's asking for that vote for another year. So it's not even coming up at this coming town meeting in March. I think they're doing a really good job of taking it very slowly and carefully and doing their due diligence.
Right. They're proposing, actually, I think they're proposing a November vote. So we're going to get Harwood Union at town meeting. No, that's wrong. Waitsfield Charter change at town meeting.
Right.
Harwood multi-billion-dollar bond vote in June. June 6th, I think, is the date. And then no presidential election would be when, I believe, the subcommittee plans to
On
bring
election
this forward.
day.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because then more people would come out to vote for it.
So how do you plan to stay involved and continue to...
I just have a very big mouth. And I'm very opinionated, unfortunately.
Well, that's good.
So I'll just keep talking to people and hope that, you know, people can... I think some of the letters to the paper have been exceptionally good. I think Kelly Mazur's letter was really well written, and I know a lot of people whose opinions were, or minds were opened up by that letter. I think it was so well stated. I don't want to speak badly of anybody, and I don't want to get on anybody's bad side. So.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today. I know you've got a busy schedule this afternoon. You have to get to Burlington.
Yes.
But thanks for coming down.
Thank you for
And
having me.
thank you for
Appreciate
writing
it.
letters to the Valley Reporter.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And thanks to all our viewers, and thanks to MRV-TV and our studio. Thanks so much.